And are we live?
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, everybody. Are we early or am I just exactly on time? Well, good morning, everyone. I don't see Al yet, but I'm hoping he's going to be able to join us very, very soon. Did we remember to switch the sound up here on this computer? Just checking. There we go. That's great. All right, so good morning, everybody. Of course, first of all, we should say good morning to my spirit guide, Gregor, who's standing to my right side. And to my far right, we have Carolyn. Say good morning, Carolyn.
Good morning, Carolyn.
Always does it. And in the middle of us today, right, sitting on the sofa with us today is my darling Cachorro, who is sound asleep, but he may just actually pop up any minute now. You never know. And I'm hoping that at some point Al will be able to join us. So we'll wait and see. All right. So before we begin this morning, we've been having lots and lots of conversations. And of course, we being Carolyn and I and my friend Mary Lou and I has been helping me to edit the book, and she's had to read the book all the way through from beginning to end. It's been such a hardship for her. She came here crying. It's really good, she said to me. So between us, we've been having sort of all sorts of conversations, and we also have had some emails which are about how disappointed some people can be. Because they're expecting so much from life, or they're expecting so much from their children, or they're expecting so much from so many people, and then their expectations fail and they become very, very disappointed. And I recently had occasion to deal with a young man whose family has held such high expectations of him in a certain area of his life that he felt so pressured to meet those expectations. Now, in my classes, I always talk to my students about expectations, because the truth of the matter is that if you're expecting something, you're expecting someone to behave a certain way, you're expecting that your children are going to love you, irregardless of however you are with them. We expect, if we put a chicken in the oven, we expect it's going to be cooked in the right way. We live in this world of ours. We live with so many expectations on a daily basis. But what I try to tell my students, and we're going to talk a little bit about this morning, is that whatever your expectations are, sometimes they're met and sometimes they're not. But if you live your life on expectations, inevitably, it's inevitable, you're going to be disappointed. Inevitable, because we expect, well, why couldn't that person behave like I would have? Well, if I had been in that situation, this is what I would have done. And so on and so forth. And we all sort of have a little bit of that in us. But when we live with expectations, whether those expectations are high or low, sooner or later, we will be disappointed. And we've got Al. I was expecting you, Al. I'm not disappointed.
Hello.
Actually, I wasn't. Good morning. I was not expecting you. I was, which takes me right to my next thing. I was not expecting Al, but I was hopeful. So good morning, Al.
Good morning. Had to readjust my spot this morning, but I got to a good location.
Well, that's okay. That's okay. We're glad you could join us. So we're talking about a little bit about expectations, and how when people have expectations, high or low expectations, those inevitably those expectations are sooner or later going to disappoint, because nobody, not anybody, no matter how hard they might try to meet those expectations for us, that nobody is going to meet every expectation that we have. And so we're courting disappointment. And we're very often courting sadness. And in fact, I'll go as far as to say we're courting misery sometimes. Because, you know, if you're in a relationship with someone and you expect them to behave in a certain way and they don't, it can be very devastating. So what I try to say to my students is, you know, instead of expecting someone to behave the way that you want them to, try to be hopeful. Because I was hopeful, Al, that you were going to join us this morning. If you couldn't manage it, of course, I would have been disappointed, but I wouldn't have been devastated. Whereas if I had expected you to turn up and you didn't, I would have not been so happy. I would have not been, perhaps, you know, I would have been more disgruntled. So it's a perfect example. Hope and expectations. If you can be hopeful through your life, if you can hope that people behave as you would like them to, you won't be so disappointed when they don't, because not everybody can behave the way we want them to all the time. So being hopeful means also that you can be more tolerant of somebody else. You know, you're not demanding that your expectations are met. You're simply hopeful, and you hope that they're going to behave the way that you want them to. But if they don't, then, you know, well, there's a little disappointment there, but it's okay. But if you're expecting someone to behave a certain way and they don't, devastation can occur. So try, if you can, you know, just think about that. All of you out there who want to be my students, all of you out there who want to learn and to grow, if we are hopeful, we can achieve great things. If we expect, even of ourselves, when we can't achieve, for whatever reason, those things that we expect of ourselves, we can, you know, we're courting disaster, we're courting disappointment. So being hopeful as opposed to being expectant and always expecting more of yourself or more of other people than they perhaps can give. Be hopeful. It's a way better way of life. You'll be a lot happier. All right. So, Al, do you want to say anything about that?
No, just that it can be a challenge because of how you're raised and your experience in life to not expect things of others, and that you know, we also expect through our own lens, and you know, our expectations may be one thing, but people actually may be meeting your hopes or expectations and you don't know it, but you're looking at it through your eyes and your lens, and just to be open-minded about that as well.
You know, the exercise with the 3 chairs is such a good exercise because it allows us to sort of broaden our perspective, and it allows us to think about, you know, looking at things from a different perspective. Or, you know, you can look at things from your point of view. You can try and look at things from other people's point of view. If you widen your perspective and you can see, you know, that there are actually other points of view. And so when, you know, if you're expecting too much either of yourself or of someone else, you will inevitably, it is inevitable that you will become disappointed, disillusioned, maybe even miserable. But if you're hopeful that you can behave in a certain way, if you're hopeful that other people can behave in a certain way, first of all, you're more lenient towards them, you're more lenient towards yourself, you're not putting that huge pressure on yourself, and you're not putting that huge pressure on other people to behave the way you expect them to. And so, you know, life becomes lighter, it becomes more fun, it becomes happier, and you're able to smile more. You're also able to forgive more. And so, you know, so I want you all to think about that and to sort of, that's your exercise for the day. All right. So why don't we sort of go in now to have our first question. Carolyn, would you like to do the first question for us, please?
Sure will. Oh, that was a weird noise. Sorry.
It's fire engine out there somewhere. It is a live show.
Audrey wrote in and asked.
Pardon?
Audrey.
Audrey. Okay. Good morning, Audrey.
Dear Rosemary, a year ago, my dad passed away from cancer. I was visited by him in my sleep last night. He said to me, unfortunately, this will happen to you. My question is, can family members in the spirit world give you warnings? I'm worried he's warning me of something awful that might happen to me.
It is true that those in the spirit world can come to us and give us warnings and so on. But I think, Audrey, what's happening here is, I'm not suggesting that your father didn't come to visit you, but I think that this is much more about what's going on in your subconscious than what your father is actually saying to you. Because I think somewhere on some level, you are in your subconscious, you are nervous or afraid even that what happened to your dad might be happening to you too. So I think that, you know, I'm not doubting that your father's there, but what I'm doubting that he actually gave you that message. I think he came to reassure you that, you know, you don't have to think down that road, and that everything for you is not going to be the same as for your dad. But our subconscious, you know, sometimes we don't realize it, you know, but our subconscious can sort of really interfere with us, and especially in our dream state can come out to its fullest. And I think, you know, that it's devastating when you lose someone, and especially when you lose someone to as much pain and as much heartache as you did. And there is, on some subconscious level, will that be the same for me? Am I going to suffer that same fate? And I think that's what's happening. I think your father came to reassure you that everything's going to be okay. Al, shall we have our next question?
I actually have a follow-up question to that. May I ask? So, you know, when often people get these kind of messages in dreams, and there's emotion involved. There's, you know, whether they're in a dream state or you know, they're thinking about something else. So, is there any advice for people who do kind of get these messages to kind of see things with clarity? I know you talk about the 3-time rule.
Yeah.
But is there? Yeah.
That's it. That you apply the 3-time rule. I mean, it's so easy for us to get our thoughts, conscious thoughts, subconscious thoughts, muddled with what we are hearing and seeing from those in the spirit world. My experience over these many years, because you all know what an old lady I am. So over these many years, my experience tells me that those in the spirit world, even if they knew, for instance, that we were going to sort of die a horrible death or something, right? They're not going to come and tell us that, because why would they want to make us afraid? Why would they want to frighten us with that? What they're going to do is they're going to reassure us, because a horrible death lasts, what, seconds or something in the scheme of things. And, you know, they're there to say, hey, but look what comes after, you know, because, you know, where they are, where our loved ones are, is a really beautiful place, and we survive death and we go on and we go forward. So when we do have dreams of someone visiting us, they've not come to us to give us the doom and gloom stuff. They might give us, you know, little warnings. Go visit your grandmother, for instance, and if you hear that, you should go do it, because they might be saying in their roundabout way, you don't have much longer to visit with her. Little things like that. They'll come to us, they'll guide us, and they'll steer us. But as for the stuff that's going to worry us or make us more nervous, no, they're not going to do that at all. Remember, they love us, they care about us, but our subconscious can certainly get in the way of the reality. So apply the 3-time rule, and you know, you all know that I believe in the 3-time rule, and it's a way of keeping ourselves centered and our feet on the ground. Carolyn, next question.
Okay, Adrian asks, Rosemary.
Good morning, Adrienne.
My cousin recently passed away very tragically. The family is in shock and feeling numb. Can you please let me know if everything goes okay with my cousin? We are all very sad.
Adrian, Gregor has put his excuse me, has put his hand on my shoulder here. I don't usually do this, you know that. Whenever I do it, I always say I don't usually do it, but you know, never mind. I actually, Gregor has his hand on my shoulder. Now, it could be that your cousin is a female. I don't know. I am actually seeing a young man standing to the side, just in front of me here, as I'm talking to you, and Grey Eagle has his hand on my shoulder. I feel that your cousin, his passing was very, very sudden and completely out of the blue. But I am told to tell you, Adrian, that your cousin is safe and well. I don't know who this young man is that I've got standing here next to me, but he's waving furiously at you. So I'm going to dive in here and say that he is really so excited, just burst into tears. He's so excited that he's doing this. Oh, I'm having a few tears myself here. He's so excited that he's been able to do this. He's not been over very long. So for him to actually come through in this way is like a big thing for him. And Grey Eagle has helped him to do this. I hope it's a him and not a her. But I'm diving in here because I think it is a him. Do we know? Is anybody responding anywhere here?
Said yes.
Oh, good. Bless you, darling. Well, he's really doing fine. He's doing fine. For some reason or another, I don't know why, Adrian, he's laughing. He's talking about his legs. I have no idea why. But his legs are fine. He's dancing a jig. He's fine. And he's sending lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of kisses to you, blowing kisses all the time. He's saying thank you to me, which is very sweet of him, because people sometimes forget to do that, but that he doesn't need to do it. But that, oh, look at that. And he's wishing me a happy birthday. And there's somebody in your family going to have a birthday around the same time, apparently. So happy birthday to someone in your family. And he's so excited that you asked. And I'm so excited for you. I hope this helps you, sweetheart. Can you please let him, I feel as if I'm on a roll here giving a message. Can you just let his family, his parents know that, because they are devastated, as of course they would be, but he's tried to visit and he's trying to let them know, and he's showing, dropping signs to them all over the place. Look for pennies, apparently. So look for pennies, Adrian, and please, let us know if what I've just said to you makes any sense at all. In fact, does she say anything at all?
Adrian says, oh my gosh, thank you. Some lady was trying to steal his wallet and he was running after her and had a heart attack.
Okay. So that's maybe the legs thing then. I don't know. There's something about his legs. Anyway, well, trust me, he is fine. He's fine. Blowing kisses. And I'm to tell you also that I'm going to cut him off now because he's taking over this whole show. He's just, apparently, Adrian is just as handsome as he ever was. I can tell you this. He has a lovely, lovely smile. That's for sure. I'm telling him to shoo, go away, because he's had his bit now. All right. Al, can we have another question?
Priscilla.
Good morning,
asks,
Priscilla.
What happened? Yep. What happens after people complete their term in the spirit world? Like on Earth, we all die one day. What happens there?
It's a good question. Life continues. I know that there are people who believe in that. Maybe this is where this question's coming from, Priscilla, but I know there are people who talk about the 7 planes, right? And you go to the next, and then to the next, then to the next, and all that stuff. I have to tell you, and it may well be that I just simply have not had that experience. So that might mean that I'm not, I'm certainly not the one to ask about this, the 7 planes thing, or however 12 planes, or however many planes people say that there are. I know that there are many universes out there, and I know that when we pass into the spirit world, it's sort of like, if I said 50 times the size of this world, it wouldn't be enough. The universe and the many universes out there are vast, and we're able to travel and to go visit and to do stuff that we'd really like to do. When we're ready to move on, is the question, do we actually die another death? I'm asking Gregor that question. I don't think I've actually ever asked him that question before, so I'm interested in the answer. But the answer is a definite no, because we are soul. We are using our etheric or our spirit body, but we are soul. And even though our physical body dies, we experience death through our physical body, our soul does not die. It is our soul housed, encased in our etheric body, which is what is, moves on and moves forward. So do we experience another physical death? No. But there are so many places out there. I've never, ever heard Grey Eagle mention. I'm asking him and he's shaking his head no. I've never heard, I'll tell you why. I've never heard anything mentioned about the 7 planes or the 12 planes or however, we're supposed to, once we reach this level, we get to the next level, get to the next level and so on. I've never heard any of that. And Grey Eagle says that is something that many people believe because for them it's almost like it's a comfort zone. It's something that they can grasp and that they can understand. But when you're talking about the 7 planes or whatever it is, you are restricting. You're restricting yourself. The idea of the next plane and the next plane and the next plane it's a structured thing, because we human beings, we do like structure, don't we? We like to know the structure of our world. The fact that we can't possibly know the structure of the universe because it's so vast, so it kind of unnerves us a little bit. So there are people who feel, that maybe if they put it into certain levels, and I'm not discounting that anybody else is wrong in this. I'm just saying that Grey Eagle is saying that's far too restrictive an idea. It's far too narrow an idea. So imagine that we talk about the world is our oyster. Imagine that you can get on a plane or you can just jump out of your bed and fly somewhere or anywhere in this world. Just imagine there are no restrictions on travel whatsoever in this world. Imagine that. Well, imagine it 10-fold, 20-fold, 50-fold, or however many. When you're talking about the universe, there are no restrictions in the way that we have those restrictions here on this earth plane. Hope that helps you. Al, did Al do that one? It's your turn. Go ahead, knock yourself out there, Carolyn.
All right. Well, Linda would like to know. She's letting you know she looked beautiful today. You look gorgeous.
Oh, thank you.
And how's your back feeling?
That's a bad question. My back is worse today than it's been in several days. I got out of bed this morning and oh boy, my back is. So here's my deal, you see. This is what I do. No, I know everybody can't do it, but the more in pain I am, this is throughout my life, when I was having major surgeries, when I had a rib out and kidney out and stuff like that. And I was in, the best thing I can do is to put a smile on my face and keep smiling. So the more pain I'm in, the more you'll see me smiling and laughing, because it's the only way I can manage to deal with sitting on this sofa in this position. My back is killing me, but thank you for asking. You didn't really want all of that, did you? Who wants all to listen to all of that? Thank you, by the way, for everybody who has been sending healing, and I appreciate it. But could you send me some more, because it's not working. My friend Karen is coming from Canada on Saturday, and my friend Mary Lou is going to the airport to pick her up, because I can't do it. Obviously, I can't. I'm stuck here on this sofa. But Karen's a masseuse, so hey, you never know. I might just get some really good healing here. Enough about me.
Linda did have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do some spirits choose not to come through? My father abandoned my family when I was young and I never got to know him. I've never felt his presence since he passed in 1975.
It is true. First of all, I'm talking to Grey Eagle as well as can always my eyes go a bit funny when I'm talking to Grey Eagle. If you watch my eyes, they go a bit strange. Apparently, I don't see them unless I'm on camera, but they do seem to sort of sink in the back of my head here. Yes, there are a lot of people in the spirit world who choose, for whatever reason, it might be that they're just simply busy, not that they don't love you, that they choose not to come through. So some people are busy, or some people don't see the need for it whatsoever. And some people, I think, and Greg is putting his hand on my shoulder here, so I'm paying attention to him. I think some people, perhaps like your father, feel too ashamed and maybe are afraid of your rejection. And, maybe he's got a point, because maybe you would reject him if he came. I've had people come to me from the spirit world to talk to. I'm thinking of one guy who was very abusive to his daughter, both sexually, physically, and every way abusive to his daughter when he was on this earth. And she came to me for a consultation. And the first thing she said to me before we'd even made ourselves comfortable, sat down, she said, I want to talk to this person, but I don't want to talk to my dad. She was afraid that her dad would come through. She was afraid of his reaction. She was afraid of her reaction. She just didn't want it to happen. Now, he did actually come through, and he stood with Grey Eagle. And at some point, I very carefully and very gently said to her, look, do have your father here. I can talk to him if you want me to. I can send him away if you want me to. In her case, she wanted to hear what he had to say. Did she forgive him? Absolutely not. And why would she? He did some awful things. But it was interesting that she wanted to hear what he had to say. And it was interesting from his point of view, how he had come to realize, the wicked things that he had done to her. And he then, of course, was still paying that price. You don't get off scot-free, trust me. There's nobody wielding a big stick over there, but you've then got to look at yourself and look at the kind of person you are. And this lady that I had with me was lovely. She heard what he had to say, and then she said to me, can you send him away? So we sent him away. Gregor sent him away. But for whatever reason, I think that was helpful to her. But when you come to see someone like me, if you say to someone like me, I don't want to speak to this person, then you don't. That's what you don't do, because we won't put anything onto you that you don't want. Talking of which, I had a client come to see me at the house this week. She had been to see, and I try very, very hard not to criticize other mediums, other psychics, other people who say that they are and they're not. I try to not get involved in that, because what other people do is their business. It's not my business. However, she'd gone to see this person, and she was told, and when she came and sat down with me, the first question she asked, and it was so upsetting to her. She'd been to see this woman who had told her, you've had a curse put on you. I've not talked to Karen about this. One of her friends or family or somebody that the psychic, we're using that term loosely now, you understand, had said to her, oh, you've had a curse put on you. And this is why all these things are happening to you. She was in a lot of distress, and a lot of bad things had happened to her. I have to say, through no fault of her own, by the way. But she was going through some, traumatic stuff. And so the medium, psychic, whatever she was or said she was, said, oh, you've had a curse put on you, and this is why all of this is happening to you. Now, I want you all to pay attention to what I'm saying to you now, right? If you go to see anyone who says that to you, please get up, walk out, don't pay. Do not pay. Because that person is the biggest fraud ever, okay? whoever it might be. All right. So then this psychic then said to my client, but if you pay me so much, I will take the curse away. So she's telling her she's cursed thing. And even though she knows that none of her friends could have done such a thing, these little seeds get put in your head. If somebody says, oh, you've had a curse laid on you, even if you don't be ridiculous, the seed is still in there. So if anyone, I'm going to repeat, if any one of you goes to see, no matter whether they say I'm God, no matter what or who they say they are, if anyone says anything like that to you, or anything that is harmful or hurtful in any regard, please, because the only way that we can get rid of these people is to not pay them. Because if they don't get paid, they don't do the work. So we freeze them out in that way. So please get up, walk out, do not pay, and tell them you're a fraud. That's what you do. So I forgot the question now, but anyway, that's just my little piece of information. This is what happened to me this week, or one of the things that happened to me this week. Al, do you have a question?
Yes, Jill
asked.
Good
morning, Jill.
I was in bed. I was in between awake and sleep and heard my brother Jay say Jill. I almost fell off the bed. It was so loud. Was he just saying hi, or do you think he wanted me to know something immediate?
Oh, well, I think we've said this before. And Jill, wow, you are blessed. Apparently, I've had my name called, so I'm very blessed too. But apparently, if you hear your name being called from the spirit world, it is the highest accolade that you could get. If your brother was strong enough, powerful enough, forceful enough, if it was important enough to him, which it was, he did everything in his power so that you could hear his voice, the highest accolade you can receive from anyone in the spirit world, because it can take a tremendous amount of effort and energy, and they have to find just that right moment when you're totally in tune. Something like this will often happen when we're in our half awake, half asleep state. But I think he just came to let you know that he's okay. And Gregor is putting his hand on my shoulder, and love to the family from him to all of you. Nice.
And Jill sent you 9 hearts.
Thank you. Oh, you are so sweet, Jill. Well, I can tell you that your brother, oh my gosh, he must love you to have done that, to have been able to do that, because it takes great amount of energy, a certain amount of skill, and very strong willpower. So he must have been had very strong willpower. When he wants something, he's going to get it. And that's what he did for you. So please just take that and know that this is something very special, that very few people actually receive that high an accolade. So good for you. Wonderful. Carolyn, let's have another question.
B.
Good morning, B.
B says, Rosemary and Carolyn, today's Mother's Day in Mexico, and my family and I celebrate today and on Sunday. I'd like to wish you both a wonderful, very happy Mother's Day.
Thank you. It's also Grandmother's Day. Thank you, B. Yes, it is. It's Mother's Day here in the States on Sunday. I think it's May 16th or something.
Sundays.
Whatever it is, anyway. Can't be the 16th, but anyway, it's on Sunday. And I'm lucky because I get 2 Mother's Days. My grandson sent me a wonderful Mother's Day scribble. Beautiful, beautiful thing. Made an envelope and everything. in March, because in England Mother's Day is in March, so it's very special for us then. And so we get two go-arounds at this, which is my daughter and I, we get two go-arounds because we celebrate Mother's Day here as well. When I say celebrate, I mean just to, you know, to say to your child, son, daughter, whoever, and if you could just remember this, this could be the day, if you've not spoken to him or her forever, or you're having a bit of a sulk, or if you're a child having a bit of a sulk and you're not spoken to your mother for a while or your father for a while, get over yourself. Get over yourself. Just pick up the phone or send a card or just do something nice. When I was a little girl, we all went to Sunday school together. At the Sunday school on Mother's Day, it's because it was spring, March time, you see, because it was springtime. In England, every garden, everywhere is filled with daffodils and tulips, but particularly daffodils. And there's yellow everywhere. And on Mother's Day, we were, each of the children, we were given a daffodil that we would take home to my mother. Of course, she had 4 daughters, so she always got 4 daffodils on Mother's Day. You don't have to spend money, just write, pick up the phone, say I love you. This is the day when you just remember, no matter what fallings out, no matter what has gone on, you know, you're a parent, you're a mother, show an example to your children, say I love you. I might not like you right now, but I love you loads and loads. All of those people out there who have mothers that you might think didn't do a good job, well, you know, none of us is perfect. Give us a break, will you? And just pick up the phone and you. I know that my daughter will do that for me. I will do that for her, and I'll make sure that my darling boy, my Reese, lets his mummy know that he loves it. He always does anyway. All right.
Dean's birthday's on Mother's Day.
Good morning, Dean. How are you? Happy birthday to you. I didn't know you were are you a Taurian then? Yeah, it must be. Happy birthday to you. Da, 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 da. Yeah, go ahead. Keep going.
We've got Sharon on a sad note. She spent all morning on the phone ordering the headstone for her husband's grave.
Good morning, Sharon. Actually, it's not a sad day. It's a good day. Now, of course, you're devastated. Nobody wants to lose someone that they love. But look, darling, look at what you're doing. Look at what you've been doing all morning. You've been finding a way to express your love, your caring. You've been finding a way to show. And don't think your husband hasn't been sitting next to you watching every move you make, because you know as well as I do that he has. So when you know, it sounds gruesome, you know, have a happy day choosing a headstone. It does sound a bit gruesome, but really he wants your smile. And this is your way, you know, the inscription, everything that you're thinking of, and all of that love that you're pouring into this, you know, he knows that, he feels that, he's with you. So smile, please, make it a happy day, and just know that, you know, that headstone is going to mean so much to you in the future. But I'm hoping it's going to mean more to you because you know that he is with you and helping you and guiding you to choose the right one. Don't spend all that money. Apparently, I don't know why I'm saying this to you. Don't spend all that money. You know perfectly well he's not in that grave, but it is a symbol of how much you do love him, and it's a symbol of your unity and the joy, and sometimes the misery, because no marriage is perfect, but the joy that you had together as a couple. So it is a symbol of that. But don't go crazy on the money, he says. He'd rather you spend it on yourself, as you know. Al, do we have another question?
Sharon just commented, that makes perfect sense. It's a memorial to him and done out of love. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And don't forget it. Al, do you have a question?
Waiting on some questions, but I actually have a question from before.
Go ahead.
You spoke about expectations of oneself too, yeah, which was intriguing. Yeah. So how do you kind of um, moderate, or adjust your own personality to, because you want to have expectations to achieve certain things. But at what point do you want, you want to be hopeful, right?
Listen to me, student mine. You need goals. We all need goals. We all need goals. And, one of the goals is, if you're trying to achieve something, you've got to work for it, But, don't put the pressure on yourself, because often our expectations of ourselves come from the expectations of others. Your kids expect you to feed them. Your wife expects you to, to pay the bills, all that sort of thing. So everybody has expectations of us, and sometimes we take on board other people's expectations, and we put them on ourselves, and we take them for our own selves. And if we can't meet those expectations, there is a tendency then, because when you expect, you will be disappointed. It is inevitability. You might not be disappointed this time or the time after, but at some point, when you expect something from yourself or from others, there will be disappointments. So instead of, expecting that you're going to do this, that, and the other, and expecting that you're going to achieve something, have your goals in place, put those goals in place, but absolutely then be really hopeful and joyful that you can work towards achieving those goals. It's a whole different attitude to, sort of putting on those expectations and then putting on the pressure to achieve them. Life is for making the most of it, and for enjoying, and for smiling. And my back is killing me, but I'm still smiling. Am I expecting that my back is going to get better today? No, but I'm hopeful that it will. Be hopeful, because being hopeful means that you can actually then be joyful, and you're more inspired then to work to meet those goals. Whereas if you're expecting them, there's a disappointment every day when you don't meet them, and then you become more depressed, and it becomes worse and worse, and the expectations become harder to meet, and so on and so forth. Expectations will bring disappointment. Hope will bring joy. Carolyn.
Julie says,
good morning, Julie.
My son just passed away a week ago. Very sudden. I'm still shocked. He was only 38, very distraught, and I'm hoping he is at peace.
Julie, I'm talking to Gregor. I'm listening to what Gregor has to say to you, because I know he will want to say something to you. And to all of you out there who are suffering this kind of loss, in my opinion, because it's only my own little humble opinion, but in my opinion, the loss of a child must be the worst to bear. That's because I'm coming from the place of a mum. But the loss of a child must be the worst to bear, the hardest to bear. Julie, I'm sorry, we've got Kachuro snuffling in the background here. I'm listening here. Give me a minute. There's always a tendency to want to fill the silence, but I can't fill the silence here. And I know that there is someone here trying to connect with us. Whether this is your son or not, I'm not really, but apparently. So I only just, all right. So I'm hearing the young man saying, can you see me? I can see someone only just, I have to tell you, only brief glimpses here. But I can tell you that Gregor says to tell you that he is with his angels. This must have been very sudden and very out of the blue, completely out of the blue. He's pointing to his head, Julie. So if I had more time, I would give you as much time as I have, but we don't have more time. But I do have a young man here. I can not see him that clearly, but Gregor tells me, and I don't expect you to trust us at all, but I trust Gregor to know if Gregor says he's safe, that he's with his angels. I can absolutely tell you that that is my belief. Try and be strong. Oh God, don't you hate it when people say that? You try to be strong. He will let you know. He will be letting you know that he's okay, that he has survived, Julie. He will be letting you know that. In the meantime, my arms go around you. My arms go around you, and I send my love to you, as I'm sure does everybody who joins this program. Please keep me posted. Send me an email. Let me know how you're doing, would you? And we'll send you healing. But your son he's safe. He's safe. Al.
Yes, we have a message from Chris, a question from Jean. Jean is asking how she can best help her husband and children.
Sorry?
Jean is asking how she can best help her husband and children. Her husband has bladder cancer and so many secondary issues. Their 3 children have autism and are not coping well. She is overwhelmed and needs some advice to help them all cope.
Okay, I'm asking Gregor this one too, and he smiles. Just do what you're doing, Jean. Just keep doing what you're doing. You are doing a fantastic and amazing, amazing job. Try, if you can, to find a little time for yourself, whether it's to just go for a walk or whether it's to sort of just walk in the garden, take a breath, because the stronger you are and the more you give to yourself, the stronger you will be for your family. Please email us and let us know if we can help in any way. We're sending you healing, certainly. Carolyn.
Valvacious asks.
Valvacious, good morning.
At Bible class, I told the teacher that I had seen demons and angels. She said I watched too much TV and it's my negative consciousness. The class laughed. How should I have responded to this teacher?
I'd find another teacher if I were you, darling. Anyone who thinks it's funny to make fun of somebody who, or belittles you or puts you down in any way, no, you don't want that person as a teacher. So, I'm not suggesting that you walk out and get, be upset or, Kachora, come here, baby, come on. Excuse me, but my puppy, come on, baby, come on, sweetie, come on, up, come here. That's it, good boy. I think whatever the teacher thinks herself, actually there is a book called Demons and Angels, and I didn't know if you meant that you'd read the book, or if you do feel that you've seen demons and angels, and if you do, email us please, because let me know your story. We'll see if we can help you in some way. And that's exactly what your teacher should have said to you, because whether or not she believes it, you believe it. I had an issue recently with my 5-year-old grandson who is afraid to go to bed at night because he sees monsters. And some people are so willing to say, well, there are no such thing as monsters, so that's it then, dismiss it. But the point is, and the point I talked to his mum about this, we have this great relationship, and I said, look, you can't tell him there aren't monsters, because if they're in his head, they're in his head and there are for him. So don't dismiss them. We can talk about them a little bit and just give him a little bit of advice as to how to deal with what's going on with him, which is what we did. And he's doing really well. Whether you saw demons or angels or you didn't is not the issue. How you approach this and what is going on with you, what is going on in your mind is the issue. And there's no reason why of course it's possible to see angels, and of course it's possible to see and to connect with negative energy in the spirit world. My suggestion is, and I don't mean to be rude to your teacher, but it seems to me you're way too sensitive. to have someone dismiss you in that way, and certainly to belittle you, because it seems to me that that's what she did. Change your teacher. That's what I would say. Al, do you have a comment on that before we move on?
No, just go back to always be skeptical, right? Always question and question and question again.
Yeah.
And you know, for that to happen, the class to laugh is really unfortunate. You know, and it's sad that happened to him.
You probably don't realize how, you know, how you were affected. Who is this? What's the name of this young lady here? We're talking
Valvacious.
Valvacious. I think you're a lady. I don't know. Valvacious seems such a feminine thing to me. But they probably don't realize how sensitive you are, and that's another thing. If you have a teacher, and especially a teacher who's teaching you spiritual things, they should come from a spiritual place teaching, and they should come from a more sensitive place. You could have said, you know, I don't think it's fair for you to laugh at me. Too late now, because you're not there. If you'd address it, I always like to address things at the time. I think you were feeling overwhelmed and sensitive, but it seems to me a no-brainer. It seems to me that you have a teacher who doesn't understand your sensitivity, and therefore, you know, find yourself a nicer teacher. That's what I would say. All right, so whose turn is it now? Carolyn, go for it.
Valvacious is saying that yes, she's a lady.
Yeah, I thought so.
I mean, her name is Val. We've got Azul.
Azul, good morning.
She says, I lost my mom to Alzheimer's. I was in Mexico. I spoke to her over the phone. Did she hear me? Did she pass in peace? And is she at peace now?
I'm going to say a quick yes to this, because Gregor has put his hand on my shoulder again. It seems we're getting an awful lot of questions, wanting messages from the spirit world. And I do, obviously I've done it twice and I'm now doing it a third time. So we do this on this show, but it's about much more than just giving messages. But I can assure you, and I'm only doing this to you because it's actually Mother's Day coming up. So I'm doing this for you, darling, because I think you need it. But Gregor, it's really Gregor who's doing this. He put his hand on my shoulder, and I can tell you this: your mother does not have Alzheimer's anymore. She remembers everything. She's with you. She's very close to you. Celebrate Sunday with her, would you please? And celebrate it joyfully. Don't be sad that you've lost her, because you haven't, because she's right there with you. Al, let's have our next question.
Waiting on a few questions, but as a follow-up to that, when people do lose, and you know, Mother's Day is coming up, and a lot of people have lost their mother, you know, what can they do for affirmation or confirmation, you know, alone, to know that their loved ones are okay in the spirit world? What can they look for to have, you know, peace in a sense with that?
Well, you know, first of all, we talked last week about raising your level of consciousness and sort of becoming more aware. And what you do is you need to tune your 5 senses. So they need to become more sensitive, more in tune. And when we do our online classes, I'm going to be talking about that. I'm going to be showing you and giving you exercises to how you can do those things, and the things that you need to do to make your senses and sensitivity, excuse me, I'm sort of wriggling about here, your senses and sensitivity much more aware and much more in tune. So paying attention, listening, take the earphones out, switch the TV off, have some alone time, have some meditation time, just, you know, have quiet time where you can pay attention, and where, you know, and talk to them. Even if you're not sure if they can hear you, talk to them and just say, you know, don't put pressure on them. Don't expect that they're going to answer you. No expectations here, but, you know, tell them how much Mom, I love you. And, you know, Dad, I hope you're okay there. I hope you still can smoke the pipe. All those sorts of things. Just talk to them in a natural way, so that, you know, they will hear you. But the more you talk to them, the more open you will become to anything that they want to come, you know. but as much as you talk to them, you need to shut up as well to listen to them. So pay attention, listen, get off the phone. I'm saying this to you particularly, get off the phone and, you know, have more time and have more quiet time, more alone time. I mean, my TV only goes on at around, I don't know, 11 o'clock at night or something. I rarely watch TV. I do watch it sometimes, but I rarely watch TV. And when I do, I usually watch Graham Norton because he makes me laugh. You know, just you pay attention. And also watch for those small signs. I think somebody earlier said from the spirit world said they were going to drop pennies on the ground. Look for pennies. Look for unusual things. If you've got that butterfly buzzing around your head and it just won't go away, don't shoo it away. Pay attention. This could be, you know, because I think we've talked about this before. Those in the spirit world will sometimes ask those tiny winged creatures, the Native Americans refer to them as those tiny winged creatures, butterflies, dragonflies, birds, bees, you know, that sort of thing. Even big birds sometimes, they will ask those tiny winged creatures, could you go to visit my daughter? Could you go to visit my son? Could you go to visit my family and let them know that I'm okay? And that's what will often happen. So those tiny winged creatures can bring us messages from the spirit world. And those messages simply, I'm here, I'm watching you, I'm okay. But try to get off the computer more. Try to stop, you know, just put the phone on, you know, on quiet or switch the thing off or something. Don't put the TV on. Don't be afraid of being by yourself. You know, so many people nowadays, you know, I said earlier on, you need to fill the silence. But the sound of silence, and we're going to this one of our lessons on our what Al and I are going to be doing. You know, one of those lessons is learning to listen to the sound of silence, because within that sound of silence, there are many, many things that we can learn and many things that we can hear, but not while ever we've got some cell phone or earplugs or something going on. Carolyn, let's have a next question.
Pretty much wraps it up today. Just wanted to say it's been 5 days since I've had a cigarette. Oh
yes, send healing to Carolyn. She stopped smoking. That good. I think I'm very proud of you. 5 days since she had a cigarette. So she needs lots and lots of help with that. Al, do you have anything to say to us this morning?
No, I think I'm good. Just the last thing about expectation and connecting. I think expectation, like you mentioned, will block us as well. If we expect the message, if we expect things to happen, it blocks that clarity, correct?
It does, you know. I mean, when people are talking about, you know, you want to talk to the spirit world, there's the old, you know, the old thing that we used to do years ago, knock 3 times, you know, and all that sort of thing. If you can hear me, we used to say, those in spirit world, if you can hear me, knock 3 times or move that ornament or whatever. And if you're trying to dictate to the spirit world what they should do to let you know that they're here, if you're expecting them, if you're expecting them to do what you want them to do, forget it. You're going to be disappointed. Absolutely going to be disappointed. Just remember, be hopeful. Those in the spirit world who love you and who care about you are there with you, and they're there with you often on a daily basis. At some point within the day, they'll pop in to say hello. It's a little bit like, you know, walking through the door, you know, somebody comes unexpectedly for tea, or just, I mean, in England, we do that all the time. In America, nobody comes unexpectedly anywhere. Nobody just drops in. But in England, we drop in on our friends and our family because that's what we do. Now, if the door is open, they can come in. If the door is not open, there could be banging, banging, banging. But if you're in the shower, or if you're like I was yesterday, lying in bed and couldn't get out of bed because my back was completely seized up, somebody's knocking on the door, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I can't even get up to open the door. That really did happen yesterday. It's like, I'm thinking, so it's the same thing. So I'm using that as an analogy. If if, right, you keep the door open, people will come in. If you keep the door closed, they can't. Even if they want to, they can't. And if they're knocking, but you're too busy on your computer or on TV or whatever it is you're doing, if you're too busy to listen, how on earth are they going to come in and let you know that they're okay? So please, just keep the door open and let your loved ones in. Yes, we have a
One quick question.
Okay.
It's been asked the last couple of weeks. Valvacious would like to know. When you
Valvacious.
see Gray Eagle, does he look like an Indian from an old Western movie with a large headdress on his head? And numerous people have asked this.
Okay, I will tell you. Okay, Gray Eagle is. I'll just do my best to describe him to you. He's taller than what you would imagine, because many Native Americans, especially in the 1800s, they were much shorter than we imagine. So I would say he's taller. That he's laughing at me as I'm describing him to you. He has the most incredible, startling eyes. They are so knowing and so startlingly clear, and the way they stare at you, especially when he's giving his talking to me, talking his wisdom, which reminds me, I do have to mention something to you. So he's incredible. He in his hair, he wears 2 feathers coming down. So I have occasionally seen him wear a headdress, but mostly when I see him, he's just an ordinary guy wearing, but he definitely is Native American. Can't miss it. I forgot to mention, right, the new book is called A Walk in the Clouds, because that's where we go, don't we? We go through the clouds and we get to heaven. So A Walk in the Clouds is the new book. It is going to be published. The official publishing date is May 19th, my birthday, just so you know. After which, if you want to order it, we'll just email us, rosemary@rosemaryltea.com. You can go on Facebook and all that other stuff to find me. But if you want the book, you can pre-order it now if you would like to. But it's definitely going to be out. That'll be next week. At the end of next week, after next Saturday, May 19th is the official publishing date. The book is called A Walk in the Clouds, and I know that you're going to love it because I loved writing it, and my friend Mary Lou just went through it word by word, line by line, to find all the mistakes for me. Not that I haven't done it 4 times myself since then. And she loves it. And once that book is done, and talking of Gray Eagle, and thank you for all of you who asked questions about him, because, he is very precious to me. There is another book. Yes, I know. So it's coming out of the sky. There is another book. We already have the title of that. It's been 20 years in the making of this book, and it's called Gray Eagle Speaks, and it will be all about Gray Eagle and his words of wisdom. Lots of questions about our world. Lots of questions about how we live in this world of ours. Political questions, spiritual questions, you name it. Every question you could imagine we ask in this book, and he responds with his incredible words of wisdom. So that's something that's coming. All right.
Rosemary, is that a picture of him there in my screen?
You can't see it, actually.
If you double click on me.
Oh. Yes, that is him. So there you have it. So
I'm just making sure everybody else can see it.
Okay, that is him. He looks, actually tell you, he looks very fierce there. It doesn't look nearly that fierce when I see him. So yeah, he looks very fierce there, and he's not at all fierce, and and that is not a good depiction. He's much more handsome than that. And so what can I tell you? But it's sort of similar, yes. It's very much the same drawing, these drawings were hand painted things. They're very much the drawing that that I've seen of him. But when I see him, I do see him a little differently. All right. If you want to know more about us, if you want to know more about Grey Eagle, if you want to know more about anything at all to do with the spirit world, email us rosemary@rosemaryaltea.com. If you want to join us on Facebook, Twitter, all of that stuff that goes on, all that media, by all means, join us there. We do our best to answer you, but if we don't get to you, it's not because we don't love you, because we do. And so please subscribe, because the more you subscribe, the more we will be able to do on YouTube. That's how it works. I don't know why it works that way, but that's how it works. And so in the meantime, right? In the meantime,
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day to everyone for this coming Sunday. And please, until I see you again next week, I want to say thank you to Al for joining us. Thank you to Carolyn for joining us. Thank you especially to my spirit guide, Grey Eagle, for joining us. And thank you all of you for joining us. In the meantime, till I see you again next week, please, please, please have a very, very, I've got to find that little arrow and that red button there. Have a very, 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 very blessed day. And